people that we definitely use. Speech and language, OT, social workers, and psychology, we all bill main care for as well. And as you, the only table in table 2, student enrollments is, again, like I talked about. The other increase area, and I talked about that last year, is 504, and that is also increasing based on those new regulations. Table 3 I talked about, and the last one for table 4 is a great Google Doc that some of the directors and I have worked together to put in a per student, per pupil cost comparison. So as you can see, we're right in line with Falmouth and Gorham, who we do a lot of work with, Kate does, and also Yarmouth. But, you know, Yarmouth's at 20,000, so we're at 14, so it's $6,000 difference. So I think we're doing pretty well. Right, Mr. Murphy?
If I stay here long enough, we'll get close to 20,000.
So, and that's a good perk. So I think we're doing really well, and I think that again accounts for all the seamless work that we do together as teams. That's what I have to say.
Questions for Don?
At the beginning, I probably should have asked it earlier, but Medicaid, you know, it was $125,000, and it was mentioned, you know, I was just understanding, is that, how does that work? If you, I would imagine services are incurred, so is it a cumulative, so you can actually, the next year follow? In other words, if you don't go after that money this year, do you lose it?
Well, we're supposed to. The Department of Ed has, and again, there's DHHS, and you got Department of Ed, and they say different things. Where DOE has mandated us to bill for this, even though some school districts are not, because it takes up, I probably spend half of my time doing this work, but I think now it's going to be paying off. But the $125,000 is from 2 years ago, correct, Pauline?
It's
right, and that's, yeah, it's partial. So that was under the bundled type of regulations where we could just bill based on attendance. Now it's much more complicated, and so OT, PT, speech and language, social workers, ed techs, we all have to go in and bill separately for certain things, and it goes through our computer program. I hope I'm answering your question. So we really are going after most of the money that we can for the small amount of kids that we have.
So, you know, maybe Medicaid and main care should look at it combined a little bit, or is it
Medicaid is the, and I might have to look into this, but Medicare is the federal version of, and then main care pulls those regulations in. So we're actually billing DHHS for main care services.
So the reason, I was just trying to clarify that a comment was made. It's going from 125,000 to 0.
Can you tell us what you're referring to so we can...
Sure. I'm sorry, page 2, I think at the beginning, Medicaid was 125,000.
I mean page 2 in the summer.
Yes, and it's going to 0. I think Ken said, you know, that's money. I was trying to understand, if we have Medicaid, if we have the same amount of students in the program, you know, how do we even, don't you bill, when we bill for that anyway and receive that? In other words, how would you go to 0?
The short answer is the state used to be very liberal in reimbursing districts for this money, and they were spending a ton reimbursing districts. They have tightened those regulations, and so we're sitting on quite a bit of money from past reimbursements, about $400,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pauline. Is it in that vicinity?
Yes.
So, I mean, we've got that money, but I don't think we'll ever see the kind of reimbursement that we have been receiving again. So as much as Don chases that money, it's probably going to amount to $70,000 to $100,000 a year at best. So what I'm suggesting you do is not use that Medicaid money that we have this year, but wait until next year, because you're going to have part 2 of the federal stimulus money disappearing. Okay. You could, I mean, you may decide to do something different with that money. You could use a portion of it this year. So there's no science to how you use that money. But long-term, I don't think we're going to see anywhere near the sort of reimbursement that we once did.
And that's because the reg changes.
Okay.
So we have the same number of kids, but the reg changes makes it really difficult to get them.
Thank you very much.
I can follow up on that. Was put my, the 400,000, is that main care or Medicaid?
It's really, it's both. I mean, I think it comes in as,
The federal government considers it Medicaid.
right.
Right.
Once it's in the state's hands, the state calls it main care.
So, to follow up on Ken's question, you've done a good job collecting money in the past, and you had a little bit of surplus. It's apparently going to drop dramatically, if I'm correct. Do we have for the future, are we going to be looking at a need that we no longer have money for because we're not collecting Medicaid / main care like we used to?
Well, we are collecting right now. I mean, we're going to be collecting, I think we'll probably pull in about 125,000,
Right.
which is where we were 2 years ago. And I think, so when they changed the rules, that's why it's decreased.
I think long-term, David, they're going to continue to tighten that money. So trying to figure out how tight it's going to be is, your guess is as good as mine, but it's not going to be anywhere near, we'll never have this $400,000.
I'm more concerned on the flip side. I'm not concerned with generating more money. I'm concerned we have an existing need. We're funding with something that's shrinking.
No, this is all surplus.
Right,
This
I
is
know
all-
the money is surplus, but what I'm questioning is, if we bring in 125 this year, have we been funding a program with Medicaid / main care money that is drying up?
No. These are all services that we need to provide to children that go to school here. The good news is that the federal government and the state government have been reimbursing us for some of those services. So even if they stop reimbursing us, we still have to provide those services.
I absolutely understand that. What I'm trying to get at is, we've been getting reimbursed for services from a third party. Are we now going to have to pay for services by ourselves without getting reimbursement from a third party? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, that always offsets. Even though instructional support is billing for those kids, it always goes to offset the budget 2 years down the road because of audits. So does that, I don't know if that answers
No,
your question.
it still doesn't. And
David,
maybe
thank-
this is for a 3-year thing, but what I'm seeing is a shrinking of money coming from Medicaid that we managed to build up a surplus. So obviously we were getting more money than maybe there was a need or a cost basis for. But as that shrinks, I'm assuming that we still have the need, as you say, and we're going to have to pay for it out of town revenue. And that's what I'm digging at.
Yeah.
Should we start planning the next 3 years, that as you're telling us it's decreasing, we're going to have to find another source, which our only other source is, it's not going to be federal or state, it's going to be the town.
Correct, right.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yes.
And I know you can't predict it now, but we have to take that into consideration, and maybe we'll use our surplus to help offset the loss of job funds next year, but we're still going to, then it's gone. We have
It
to-
is taken into consideration because it's not put into the budget as a revenue line item.
I beg your pardon?
It has been taken into consideration because it's not been put into the budget as a revenue line item. That's the consideration that you would, that's what you would do if you were concerned that it wouldn't come in the future. Next year, we will look at a revenue line item of 0 from the previous year for these funds, and we may actually see an increase in that revenue line item.
Correct. That's right.
I have to say, I'll drop it for now, but that's gimmick, I can't even pronounce the word.
It's not a gimmick, but we'll, I'll
Right.
talk
I think we
about
only
that.
budgeted 20,000 this year, correct? Nothing. We did 0. Most school districts did 0 because we're not going to be able to handle this.
I know I'm not getting I think I got my point across, and now it's becoming dissipated into the wind, and I'll stop it. I'm trying to simply grasp the point. I don't care what we budget for getting third-party money. What I'm concerned about is a cost that we're going to have to pay for with town money when that federal money starts drying up, and I'll drop it at that.
Other questions of Don?
I had a couple more. The legal budget, you have for fiscal year 10-11, 8,000. What is it actually today? I'm just stunned, it's 52,000 in 9-10. We budgeted 8,000, 10-11. I'm wondering what it really is, because we're budgeting the same amount for 11-12 of 8,000.
Well, last year we talked about that, and we had a higher number, and it was very clear that, and I
Well,
think
I'm just wondering if
we
this
went
is
down to
repeated.
8,000.
This year, how much has it been to date, Paula?
So far, we've expended $1,600.
Okay, that's cash, but what do we think we'll end up spending this year? If you were to do what would you estimate? If we've only spent 1,600, that's cash basis. If we were looking at what we've accrued in legal bills, what are we going to project we're going to spend this year on legal bills? Do you have any idea?
It really depends on, and I can't really talk about it, but
You
it
can
depends.
talk about money, you just can't talk about
I
people.
can't predict about what's going to happen. I mean, I think right now we are dealing with one situation, another situation, and I think all the board knows about that because the email went to the board. So, and I'm working through that with our attorneys, and
Look, if you go to a hearing, I think they answered David's question. I mean, if you go to a hearing, it's $25,000 to $30,000 in
Yep.
legal fees.
That's
So if
sort
we
of,
have one hearing, it's going to be $25,000. If we have two hearings, it's going to be $50,000. I mean, that's just the cost of a hearing.
that's exactly my concern. We budget a fairly small amount, and and we have a very small contingency, and it doesn't take much to blow that 8,000 out of the water.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering and asking what we were doing this year and projecting from this year on a accrual basis. I understand, I don't know whether, and I don't need to know whether some of these events have occurred or not, but someone's got to take a look at it and make a reasonable projection. You know, is this year like last year, or was last year a pure aberration? And it just seems to me that 8,000 per year, given the litigious nature of IS, by its very nature, is a very small sum to put in there.
It is. It is. The good news is that our insurance company will reimburse for some of these hearings, right,
Yep.
Pauline?
Yes.
So we do have insurance that will cover us if we get involved with, so when I say $25,000, it may not cost the district $25,000. It may actually be $40,000, but our insurance company would reimburse us. It's a deductible, 1,000 or 2?
It's $5,000.
5,000. So there is some good news in the litigation. Other questions, is all? This side of the table is quiet. David, did you have other questions, Don?
I have to go back now to the section I jumped up to. Give me a second, I'll ask you. I'll let you know. No, that's to be honest with you, that's always been my major concern for 2 years, is that we budget a small amount, and it takes nothing to spend 8,000 if you have a problem. And I personally think that we ought to contemplate, when we get to it, figuring out what we might have this year, and I would recommend we budget a larger amount. If we don't spend it, fine, but 8,000 is, you know those lawyers, that's chump change.
That's right. Any other questions? Greg?
My first question is, are you comfortable and warm in
Now, yes.
Actually, I'm too warm.
Oh, you're always okay. Thank you for the heat.
So, I guess I'm going to start off by going through my little section here and kind of get everybody up to speed that we did have some significant changes in the department this year. One of the things that happened was there actually was 2 separate departments that actually handled facilities and custodian. Janet used to be in charge of the custodians, and Ernie McVeigh, along with Bob McVeigh, handled the maintenance staff. July of this year, July 2010, that was combined into one facilities department. So we have, myself will